If you or your team are currently looking for a new project management tool, well, Zoho Projects might be on your radar. Zoho Projects, though, it doesn't sit on its own. It's part of a wider ecosystem of tools that fall under Zoho. If you're already using Zoho for its CRM, desk, mail, books, forms, or work drive, well, then it makes sense to adopt a platform that lives within this ecosystem. And it's built to slot cleanly into the rest of your tech stack. But even on its own, Zoho Projects is a surprisingly capable platform, offering Gantt charts, task dependencies, time tracking, and resource planning without the heavyweight pricing of enterprise tools. That said though, it's definitely not the most slickest experience out of the box. But still, for the price, you get some serious power. So in this video, we're diving deep into how Zoho Projects works, where it delivers, where it gets awkward, and how it stacks up for real teams managing projects. Hey there, I'm Alex Knowles from softwarefinds.com, and we are building out a library of software comparisons, reviews, and helpful resources to help you and your team get started on the right tool for your unique business. In this video, we're taking a closer look at Zoho Projects, Zoho's own project management tool that ties into their broader suite of business apps. It's designed to give you structure, tracking, and visibility across multiple projects, especially if you're juggling clients, teams, tasks, and deliverables. Now, this isn't like the other review videos you've watched. We're going to dive deep into the platform and actually take a look at how it feels to manage projects with Zoho Projects. Now, when you first dive into the dashboard of Zoho Projects, we can see that this wasn't built to be minimal. It's quite cluttered and we've got a lot of options there. We've got the home dashboard, which brings a lot of that valid information front and center. We can view our tasks. We've got dashboard widgets, looking at open phases, closed tasks. This gives us a general overview of our activity and our work. Beyond this, we've also got the side panel here where we're able to navigate through the entirety of our Zoho Projects platform. The home, well, this is our dashboard view, which allows us to see a higher level of our activity. Beyond there, we've got reports, projects, collaborations, and approvals. We've then got the overview, which allows us to dive deeper into our work, think tasks, issues, phases, time logs, and timesheets. And then below that, we've got our projects as a whole. So if we jump into those, well, we can get into the nitty-gritty of the work that we're actually doing. Within the projects selection, we've got dashboard, tasks, users, reports, documents, phases, and time logs. A real strong selling point of Zoho Projects that it actually brings your time tracking and timesheets directly into the platform. This is a big win because there are plenty of project management tools out there that don't offer this. Usually you have to pay an add-on to get access, or it just simply isn't offered and you'll have to use a third-party tool like Toggle or Harvest to track your time. Now, when we discuss the hierarchy and structure of Zoho Projects, well, your projects are the core container, and within each project, you create task lists, tasks, and subtasks. You can view all of these in list mode, Kanban board, Gantt chart, or calendar, of course, depending on how your team prefers to visualize your work, but we've looked at plenty of other software tools that don't offer those varying views. You might be stuck with a simple grid, a table, or using a platform like Trello. Well, we know that you're stuck with Kanban boards and lists. So beyond here, we'll notice that the actual UI itself feels a bit clunky, and it's definitely slow. It's not the hardest to become accustomed to, but there are moments where buttons aren't where you expect, views are crowded, and the layout definitely takes some time to get used to. And if you've never used any of the other Zoho apps or tools, well, there's definitely a bit of brand-specific logic that takes some time to learn. And if you're already using Zoho CRM, well, the integration feels seamless. Projects tied to clients, tasks linked to deals, and timesheets synced to invoices. It all makes sense. But the bottom line, Zoho Projects doesn't try to be sleek, it aims to be useful. It's not an instant project tracker like Trello or Asana, but it rewards teams that want structure and are willing to put in the work to get some muscle memory on how they can best manage their projects. So we took a quick look at the navigation and the home dashboard of Zoho Projects. Now we will dive deeper into each of those individual tabs and the navigation throughout this video, but now let's actually take a look at the building blocks of Zoho Projects. And to do this, we need to unpack how Zoho organizes its work, because this is where the strength and complexity of Zoho starts to show. At the top level, you've got projects. Each one acts as its own workspace with its own tasks, milestones, timelines, and permissions. Inside a project, the hierarchy breaks down like this. So Zoho Projects is built for teams who need more than just a task list, which is why we've got all those views available. Each project will be its own workspace, and inside that, everything is layered. Task lists group your work by phase, client, sprint, think status, however you need. Now, beyond task lists, we've got the cards within, which are our tasks, and these carry all the key info: assignees, due dates, priorities, time tracking, dependencies, custom fields. We've got subtasks that break things down further. Then we've got milestones, which flag big deliverables, and custom fields. Well, these let you tailor tasks to your workflow beyond the usual assignee due dates and so on. Zoho Projects is flexible, but that means you need to rely on the structure. Because without structure, think clear naming, ownership, and task logic, well, things start to fall apart. To speak plainly, Zoho Project gives you the right architecture for project management, but you must ensure that you structure it correctly. When we discuss project management in Zoho Projects, it's not just about ticking a task in a list or moving your card from one status to another in your Kanban board. It's about setting up a complete workflow that scales with your team and keeps projects moving without constant micromanagement. Tasks in Zoho Projects are where most of your day-to-day work happens. And when we open up a task, you can see that Zoho Projects treats tasks as full work containers rather than just simple to-dos. Whether you're coming from the list view, the board, the Gantt chart view, Zoho Projects opens this detailed task panel. And then up the top here, we've got the basics: the task name, who it was created by, and the status dropdown. Pretty standard. Then you've got comments, time logs, files available up here, some more info. And right underneath, you'll see the actual owner or the assignee. Now, this is important because Zoho Projects only supports a single assignee per task. Now, if you do want to assign a group of people, well, you have the option to assign a team. Then you'll need to assign your subtasks individually. You've got the description field. Any custom fields your team has set up will also exist here. Then you've got the comment thread below. From here, you can tag someone, attach a file, upload a PDF, and it all stays within that task for the entire life of the project, so it's a reference point. From here, you can also access subtasks, assign, view time logs, document dependencies, issues that arise, and more. Then on the left, you can easily navigate through the entirety of your tasks and keep your work flowing. Overall, when you open a task in Zoho Projects, you're not just looking at a title, a few checkboxes, maybe a simple set of fields. You're looking at the full shape of your work, how it can get done, what you rely on, what's happening next, who's involved, and what the discussion points are. Zoho Projects is definitely a level up in this area when we compare it to platforms like Asana and Trello. Managing projects in Zoho Projects is much more than just ticking off tasks. If you're looking for a tool that can support real project delivery, pipelines, and workflows, and not just task assignment, well, Zoho Projects has a lot going for it. Most lightweight tools let you create tasks. Zoho Projects lets you build an entire project pipeline. Why does this matter? Well, you're not consistently updating your project tracker manually. Instead, the system is cascading it for you. Zoho Projects supports proper dependency logic: finish to start to start, and more. Now, opening any project within Zoho Projects, we have the ability to change to our Gantt view or a Gantt chart view. This is much more than just another visual way to see your data, your tasks, your project. Instead, it's an easy way for us to set up task dependency and get a real visual of the timeline, the overview of our project. Now, let's say, for instance, that we need to ensure that we have the sketch rough plan finished before we finalize our site plan drawing. Well, we'll select the sketch rough plan there, and what we can do is just simply drag and connect it to. Well, we can select the dependency, and this opens up a new modal. Within that, we actually have the ability to set the dependency type. We can also set a delay or a lag. For instance, there's an approval process, and we just want to wait a couple of days before the next person gets notified. We've also got the start date and the due date, but do be careful because when you actually adjust your primary task, this also adjusts the secondary task or the dependent task. Now, one of the reasons that Zoho Projects is such a solid project management tool is that it actually has timesheets or time tracking built natively into the platform and for no extra cost. Now, we will cover later in this video the value of Zoho Projects, looking at the pricing and how much bang you get for your buck, but let's quickly take a look at this. So from any project, you'll have access to the time logs. You'll select it from the top bar navigation of your project. Here we've got time logs, issues, and timesheet. If we jump into time logs, waiting for that to load, here we can actually see the work that gets done. Now, we can add a time log simply by selecting the button, which will open up a new module, a new modal, which will open up this side panel, or we could just simply add a new time log directly down here. I know that it's far too often businesses are reaching out to their employees trying to ask them to enter their time log for the week. Well, it's a lot easier if you've actually got that built natively into your project management tool. So we can see here that within Overview, we've also got time logs and timesheets available. That will be the entirety of your time logs, whereas you can actually access the individuals from your individual projects. But how does your team actually track their time? You could have them jump into timesheets, time logs, or do it through the project-specific top bar navigation, but no. Instead, when they're working on their tasks, they see that option. I'm going to jump quickly back into the Kanban board view. So from here, I'm just going to select plumbing layout. For example, when we open this, we can see all the details of our task, but let's just first look at tracking our time. All we need to do is hit the start timer, and then once we've completed our task or completed the work for that task that day, we can hit stop timer, understand the impact. Of course, it's under 30 seconds, and that's going to actually log within the log hours automatically. But let's continue looking at the functionality and the configuration options we have with Zoho Projects. So we'll jump into the setup for our workspace, where we can manage our preferences, notifications, configurations, and so on. But we want to look at customization, because this is how we actually manage how we get our work done and how it flows. We've got task templates, which are necessary for a project management platform if you have repeating tasks. Think customer onboarding, campaigns, video production, content production, compliance. You'll want to have set task lists, set subtasks, and so on. We'll jump out of that and take a look at modules, which is really interesting and a way that plenty of project managements don't actually approach project management. So within Zoho, we've got module task, issue, phase, and time logs. And we can actually create custom fields for those individually. If we jump into a task, we notice that we actually have these available. So we can configure how these look, what we're actually including, and what custom fields are included with those. But first, let's look at the layouts of each. So we've got our standard project layout, and that's when we jump into projects from our home dashboard, our workspace. But within the projects, we can actually also create custom project fields. Beyond that, we can of course create custom fields for our tasks, but we can also create custom layouts so that you have your fields and your information front and center. Now, comparing this to a platform like Coda, Notion, or even Airtable, we don't have that same UI customization available. We just simply change where the fields lay and what is the most important fields that show. We can also update the layouts for our time logs, our issues, our phases, and yes, of course, update the custom fields. Now, when it comes to the custom fields, these tie directly to our filters and our views. Now, there are plenty of project management tools out there that don't allow you to actually filter by a custom field. Not to worry, because you can create custom fields like risks, priority, and beyond, and then actually use that to decide which tasks or which data you see in your project. All right, but let's move on to reporting and dashboards within Zoho Projects. Now, earlier we took a look at the home dashboard, which gives you a quick personal snapshot of you and your team's work. But now we're actually shifting into the broader reporting engine and customized dashboards, where you'll get visibility across multiple projects, teams, tasks, and so on. As soon as you open a project and head into your dashboard tab, Zoho will give you a visual overview of the health of that specific project, what's going on, who's working it, where resources are allocated, what tasks are overdue, upcoming milestones. And what's nice here is that everything is pulled live from real task data. So your team is logging time, or it's closing subtasks or bringing up issues. Well, you'll see this immediately here. This is your project manager at a glance. Now, one question that a lot of people have is, well, this is useful, but can I build custom dashboards? Yes, but with limitations. Inside your individual dashboards for each project, these are pretty much fixed. Yes, you can move your cards or your widgets around and decide which is shown as which is not, but that's really all you can do. So let's look at the report section in Zoho Projects, because we do have somewhat more of a configuration option here. If you look over on the left-hand sidebar, you'll see the Reports tab, and you select this to get a general overview of your team's work, of your team's projects, and you can toggle through a bar, a heat map, and a timeline reports. You have in the top left the way to navigate through different reports, and you've got standard filtering on the right. But Of course, we want a more honed report. So jumping into a project, you can select reports from the top navigation here. And this is the built-in dashboards. Now, the dashboards, yes, they do provide you a quick pulse of how things are tracking, but when we compare it to a platform like ClickUp or Smartsheet, well, there's not really much in-depth analytical data being shown. But this is expected as Zoho offers Zoho Analytics, which is a separate tool you'll need to pay for, and that enables you to bring in deeper analytics and reporting. But considering dashboards and reporting for most teams, they're good, they're solid. But if you're a data-heavy team, well, you're going to look at using Zoho Analytics or just using a third-party tool. Now, we glanced over modules earlier, and I quickly want to mention issues to you. Zoho Projects has a dedicated issue module. We've mentioned this a couple times, which you'll see in the top navigation of any project. It's essentially a lightweight ticketing system, and the win here is that it's built natively into your project manager. So when you open an issue, you'll get things like severity and classification, owner assignee status, attachments, comments, and custom fields, which we looked at. What's nice is that issues don't clutter your task lists because they actually live in their own space separate. They have separate fields, separate dashboards, separate reporting, and time logs. If you're coming from tools like Jira or GitHub, well, this isn't a replacement. It doesn't have that in-depth functionality that these platforms built for that do, but it works for a lot of teams. And the big win here is that it is built natively in your project management tool, so your tasks and your issues live side by side. But now let's take a look at automations and integrations, which is interesting because Zoho Projects ultimately has two layers of automations. You've got your basic rule-based automations, but the real horsepower comes from Zoho's blueprint system, which we'll chat about soon. So here we are in our task tab for a project, and we're going to jump into automation. Now, like with Zoho Projects and the rest of Zoho's suite of tools, the automation builder isn't the most clean UI or easy to use. When we look at the trigger events that actually kick off our automations, we've just got simply when a task is created, updated, commented on, deleted or trashed, or when a document is attached. We also have the ability to set a schedule based on a date or time specific every 1 day, 2 days, so on. And then we've got the criteria. The criteria is the same as conditional logic in any other platform. We can set so that if this particular project name is, or if a particular assignee or project owner is. So that's something that we would expect from any project management tool. And when it comes to the actual actions themselves, well, we can update a field, associate a webhook, associate a custom function, or associate an email alert. Beyond that, we don't actually see any access to other platforms, and it's quite limited what we can achieve directly in automations. But let's talk about Zoho's blueprints, which is one of the most undervalued and least talked about features of Zoho Projects. Now, a lot of project management tools let you change task statuses or automate simple things like we saw with the automation rules. But Blueprints is different. It lets you control the entire workflow your tasks move through step by step. Think of it as a guide rail, as an SOP that's built directly into your project management system. Every transition has conditions, required fields, approvals, or automations tied to it. For example, if someone wants to move a task from in review to approved, you could require them to fill in a review note, attach a document, choose a priority level, or even get a manager to sign off before it moves. This is a way of building quality control directly into your workflow, so you don't rely on people remembering the process or having to check some SOP document that's hidden in a library somewhere. The system actually enforces it for you. And that's one of the biggest wins of Zoho Projects, is the ability to build a structured system that ensures you and your team get your work done and quality is controlled. In terms of integrations, well, Zoho obviously works the best inside its ecosystem. If you're already using Zoho CRM, Books for Billing, Zoho Desk, Zoho Mail, Zoho People, well, all those systems automatically tie together and it makes life easy. You can pull client data from CRM, convert logged hours into invoices through Books, or sync issues with Desk. And outside the Zoho universe, well, you get the usual culprits: Google Drive, OneDrive, GitHub, Bitbucket, Slack, plus a marketplace of connectors and the option to use webhooks or the API if you need to wire projects into something custom. It's definitely not as integration heavy as other platforms like Airtable, ClickUp, or Monday.com, but it is solid And it's understandable as it has an entirety suite of tools. So why would it want you to be connecting it to a third party that isn't supported by them? But when we consider that it already has its own ecosystem of tools, well, we can understand it's not fighting to be able to connect it to any one of their competitors. And if we look at connecting Zoho projects to other platforms through an automation tool like Zapier, we'll notice that the trigger events actually outweigh what we have available through automations. We can have a new bug, new file, new log time, milestone, project task, or task list trigger off an automation in Zapier. And when it comes to the actions we have available, well, we can again add time logs, bugs, milestones, projects. We can update any one of the modules. And those modules, remember, are your tasks, your issues, your phases, or your time logs. Now, the mobile app is another piece that everyone will ask about. It's definitely not designed for full-on project planning. You're not going to be building out a Gantt chart in your mobile, but no project management app actually offers this. It's practical. It's great when you're on the move or for day-to-day updates, checking comments and references. You can open tasks, update a status, leave comments, upload photos, and log time while you're on the go. It's dependable, it syncs well, and the interface is simple enough that anyone can pick it up. But realistically, the deeper work still needs to happen on the desktop, and you will find that the mobile app can be buggy and slow loading. But this is something that's shared with the desktop app, so we can't be surprised. And finally, well, how much value do you get? Let's take a look at the pricing, which is generally one of Zoho Projects' biggest advantages and a consistent theme we see with Zoho. It's incredibly valuable and probably the best value for money in the market. You'll be paying $4 per user per month USD for the entry-level plan. And you won't be actually going up to the next enterprise plan until you need deeper custom fields, statuses, custom roles, permissions, and deeper automation functionality. So many teams will be able to survive on that premium plan, and at just $4 per user per month, that's a lot of value. However, I have to reiterate that we have that lower price because it's trying to push you into the entire suite of Zoho tools. Connecting your Zoho projects to your sales pipeline or your booking system, and it not being a Zoho tool, well, things do get harder there. Still, in saying that, you won't find better value for an entry-level plan across project management tools. The free plan, you can get things done and you are able to bring in 5 users, but you've only got 3 projects, subtasks, whiteboards. There's a lot of limitations there, and you will be jumping up sooner rather than later. If you do want to test out the premium or the enterprise plan, well, they do offer a 15-day free trial. Something that we do want to consider is that if you are wanting to connect with the rest of your tech stack, you'll be on that enterprise plan and you'll be limited to Zapier, Zendesk, Microsoft, Slack, ServiceNow, Dropbox, and SharePoint. Once you jump up to the enterprise plan, well, you get further integrations available, and you also have the ability to do more with the data in the rest of your Zoho suite of tools. So the real reason you're here, who is Zoho Projects actually built for? It's perfect for teams who want structure, consistency, and clarity without paying that enterprise software price. Agencies, IT service teams, and operation teams, all of them get massive value out of this mix of tasks, time tracking, issues, and workflows. If you're already using Zoho CRM or Zoho Books, the integration alone is worth it. But if you lean more toward creative work, or you want a highly visual interface, or you're expecting heavy AI assistance and endless integrations, then this mightn't be the perfect fit for you. Zoho Projects definitely works best if you are using the Zoho ecosystem. However, if you do need a solid project management tool, well, the price can't be ignored of Zoho Projects. But if you are still wondering which project management tool or business tool you should adopt for your unique business's needs, don't hesitate to head over to softwarefinds.com, where we're building a library of tool reviews and comparisons to help you navigate the fluff.